sugar is everywhere.
Yep.
And, we know this now with study, research, the effect of the brain and the dopamine centers in the brain are strongly related to that of cocaine and the dopamine release with that. So like it's normal to have that addiction of that feeling of chocolate, of sugar. We just got to avoid it because there's simple sugars and there's processed sugars. So simple sugars that's in fruit, process is different in your body than a Snicker bar. And so we got to avoid the processed sugars, but in regards to that, like it's in everything, and you don't realize it until you read a nutrition label. And that is probably step number one. What we should start doing is just being more aware of how much sugar we are intaking throughout our lives. But just by taking a glance at that label, the average human should only have around 30 grams a day max.
How much is in that Coke?
I mean, 50 to 60 sometimes.
So I blow out my whole sugar on one Coke?
Well, and what they do is it's so tricky because even if you read the nutrition label, so you got green tea.
Ooh.
You think you're doing good, right? It's tea, it's not soda. And you look on the back and there's 40 some grams of sugar on it. That's over the amount you should have all day, and you're having it in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So but reading the labels too. And the tricky part is now they're altering how they say it. So natural flavoring. There's no such thing as natural flavoring. They're just changing and zero sugar, zero carbs, but then there's natural flavoring. So what exactly is that? And to be honest with you, I mean, I know that it's not as natural as they say it is, and that could still mean that you're still consuming sugar, and you'll be able to taste it a little.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I need to quit saying absolutely so much. I say it all the time. But
dude, I say so many things. The number one thing.
Oh, the number one thing. But yes. So, and the other thing is they're also hiding a lot of it with some really jazzed up and big words in that little paragraph on the on the label. The things like, so me and you have went through a lot of schooling, had a lot of science courses, a lot of nutrition, the whole deal. And I'm telling you, looking at that little paragraph, I mean, you would have to like dedicate your life to studying those things to know everything that's going. Like you got to be the real deal when it comes to nutrition to want to learn all those things and keep up with all those things. And I'll tell you, I know the basics, but I don't know it, to the extent that I probably should. And one reason is I'm caught up doing other stuff, and it's just hard. So I guess what I'm outlining is how hard it is to keep up with all the BS that they keep putting on the back of products.
Yeah, because it's a meaning for something they've already banned or regulated.
It's trying to confuse us a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess that's just part of the system. I feel, especially growing up in America, you just kind of realize that, compared to other countries, and you hear these stories of people going to Italy and eating a bunch of carbs and pasta and drinking wine, but they have like natural, what are those called? Aquifers over there. So they're drinking waters that have natural minerals in them. And that's the most frustrating thing now is even what we think is clean water. We're drinking water, right? Well, we don't truthfully know all what we're drinking in that water because there's chemicals. They have to treat it for sanitation purposes. And so I guess, yeah, I think just being basic with the nutrition labels. We can get super scientific with it. It's a state of time where you hate being that way, but pick your poison a little bit. I mean, it's never going to be, unless you're straight out the farm, all natural with everything, which would be awesome. I would love to have my own chickens and have my own fresh eggs, natural beef, all that stuff. Until you've ingested that, once you have something that's whole and natural, I mean, the taste is different. Everything, you feel better after you eat it. You feel like it actually gave you some nutrients. I mean, again, we're creatures, but we're machines. So what we put in our body is exactly the fuel for performance. And that's even thinking. I mean, how many times do you feel a little foggy after having a little peanut butter parfait from DQ?
No, I get the Oreo blast.
Blizzard?
Yeah. Oh yeah, not a blast. We're gonna make it through this. But yeah, I like how you outlined it in saying like when you say pick your poison, it kind of sucks. It really does. And sometimes when I'm watching YouTube and I'm watching people who are talking about nutrition, I know a lot of these guys are really into it.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. But 99.9% of the rest of us, um, we don't dedicate our life to all nutrition
Hmm.
and learning everything. So I feel like it's kind of hard for people to relate to that, and it seems almost like the goal is not even obtainable because there's no way that I can know as much as this guy or this gal that's talking on YouTube. So really, like you're saying, it's it's taking things to the basics and learning kind of the things that you're not going to do, and then things that you might teeter with, and then just keep it moving.
Exactly. And it's yeah, make those tweaks to slowly get better and better. But it's as simple as this. I mean, a lot of the basic concepts, for example, shopping around the perimeter of the grocery store, that's where you're going to find more of your natural produce and things like that. That basic things like, even I heard a stat the other day. So if I believe it's the average adult would walk at least 30 minutes per week at a pace where it's kind of difficult to talk while you walk. Once a week, just 30 minutes. You like decrease your mortality rate by like 50%
It's crazy.
just by one 30-minute walk per week. And that just shows you how motion is life, circulation. I mean, how is your blood supposed to filter out and not pool up in your body if we're not moving and circulating it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest understanding to be is our body will accept anything that's all natural and healthy. I mean, you could go out and eat wild berries and have a poisonous reaction and die, and it's all natural. But it's picking your understanding, what you should consume. But anything that's processed natural, if you can imagine, your body is a natural organism that is taking on a processed chemical that is a stressor that's going to cause immediate inflammation in the body. It's your body like literally pulling down the fire alarm, and trying to understand what just entered in the body by causing inflammation.
Yeah, and and those reactions are feeling bloated, having heartburn, uh, uh, what I said,
Sluggish, feeling
sluggish,
sluggish.
brain fog, all those different things. Those are those reactions that you get. And can you explain a little bit? So, in case somebody doesn't know, because I'm sure a lot of people hear that processed word, but like, what is that in real world terms?
Anything that's processed is made in a building, in a lab, in a factory.
Yeah.
It's not pulled from the ground, treated, and cleaned appropriately. I mean, I switched up to that veggie fruit wash by Young Living. You basically take a little cap full and put it, all my blueberries, strawberries in a bowl or vegetables, and you just let it soak for about 3 minutes. You wouldn't believe what comes off those fruit, even fruit and
Ugh.
vegetables. I mean, you want to get 100% organic if you can, as much as possible, because they are spraying pesticides and stuff around those that aren't organic 100%. So you definitely need to watch out for that. But again, it's if we can get that understanding that the body is in constant survival. So listening to your body after you eat something, even to the point where you could eat something and emotionally feel depressed 30 minutes afterwards, because again, it's that gut brain connection.
Mm-hmm.
Like our gut is our immune system, it's our life. And so when we invade that with something that's not naturally good for it, it communicates in different ways, aka symptoms. Sluggish, anxiety, depression even increases with that.
Well, and everybody's going to be different too. So we have to realize a lot of people are going to have the similar reactions to all the crappy foods, but then some other things, some people will just be able to kind of roll through it, and then some other people will bother them. So that's another thing to start paying attention to is, if I eat something, because it can be very confusing going through foods and going, is this a bad thing or is this a good thing for me? So kind of like you said, when you eat something, take a break for a second and start thinking, okay, how did that make me feel?
Mm,
So I figured out, I love pizza and I love some red sauce, but man, it gets me.
yeah,
And I'm not going to give it up because I really like some pizza.
sure.
Now I'm not going to eat it every day either, but I just kind of know that that's not going to be a good day or it's not going to be a good night for me if I eat too much of that.
100%. And then not only that, but going back to the appearance factor. And I think that's a big, for example, you might see a 65-year-old woman who smokes a pack of cigarettes a day and drinks nothing but Diet Mountain Dew, super skinny. And somebody that's on the thicker side is going, how come they can do all of that? It's very common. But we don't see is the damage to the thyroid that the 65-year-old has that is, causing hyperthyroidism and a whole host of other issues, decreasing their quality of life. But again, if we can kind of go more along, how do you feel after you eat something? And then we can kind of target, it's like self-regulating. Ooh, I should have maybe limited it to 2 Reese's cups versus 5.
Yeah, the little portion control.
A little portion control, but then again, it's okay to consume that. Like we've talked about the 80-20 rule. I'm not going to not eat Reese's peanut butter cups. I'm not going to not eat pizza. It's my favorite food. So in moderation, but again, in your consumption of sugar, we have to keep it 30 grams and below. And especially in one setting, I recommend don't go over 20 per setting. So a day like tomorrow with Thanksgiving and pies and stuff, anything in moderation, because it's Thanksgiving. Go enjoy it. If it's your favorite coconut cream pie, down as much as possible. And then pay attention to how you feel after, how you're going to want to take a nap, maybe have a little gut ache. Again, pick your poison.
Yeah, yeah. And it's all about being aware. And I feel like in society sometimes you can kind of get shamed for eating certain things, but on this podcast that's the last thing that we want to do.
Oh, heck
We
no.
want to help you be aware of these things, but don't feel ashamed if just like we just had Halloween. I ate some candy. It's all right. It's going to be Thanksgiving. It's going to be Christmas. You're going to have all these different things, but in the meantime, being aware, and just in moderation. We were just talking about diabetes and type 2 diabetes, and you know people that have that, they have kind of ate their way into something like that, and it's tough to say because it does suck. But with that, in my mindset is I would rather have something in moderation so I can always have it, as opposed to blowing it all out at one time, and then you have to give it up all at once.
Matter has limitations,
Yeah.
and the top handful of reasons of cancer, illness, and disease in this country is all self-inflicted. And it's just like we've talked about, we want to create awareness and understanding that you can still enjoy the good things in life: chocolate, um, pizza, hamburgers, milkshakes, in
Hmm.
moderation. And like what we were talking about with diabetes, and we'll get into that here in a second, but to the understanding of what we last consume is the first that we burn. So, for example, tomorrow when everybody's eating Thanksgiving, overindulging, which they should, and that what you do those days following is going to be what burns it off the quickest. So, the last you consume is the first to burn. So, if you have a bunch of sugar and a bunch of carbs and all that, well, then maybe Friday, let's get up and move around a little bit. Let's get an exercise in, because that, whatever you ate there, is going to be used as energy
Hmm.
towards your workout and towards your performance. Well, and you can imagine. So again, the last you consume is the first to burn. Well, if you don't burn it, it's just going to stockpile up, and that's where fat comes into play, and that's where obesity, cholesterol. That's a big one, I believe. The most number one prescribed prescription drug in the United States is a statin of some sort, which is a cholesterol inhibitor. But we need to get that phrase out. There's good cholesterol and there's bad cholesterol. There's
Hmm.
cholesterol and animal fat, which is
Hmm.
actually survival, what we need for hormones and all that, good stuff.
Yeah, I think another thing when it comes to eating food too, I think we have to be aware of when we're eating things. So, what emotion are we having when we decide that we want to eat something? Whether it's pizza or whatever the food is.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of emotion do we have? Because all of us emotionally eat at some point in life. And so being aware, like, hey, maybe I'm feeling a little down today. We gotta look and see, is this going to make me want to eat? Just being aware of that and being able to kind of self-govern yourself a little bit.
And this goes back into psychology. I mean, was it Pavlov? Ring the bell and the dog salivates.
I remember that. I don't know if it's Pavlov, but I'll go with you.
One of those OG, psychologists and brainiacs.
Somebody fact check us.
I like to think of it as, if we can set up a goal at the end of the week or at some point in the week, if I accomplish this, if I hit this many workouts per week and I get this stuff checked off physically, where I was active and did all the things, then I'm going to reward myself with pizza or whatever that is. So then I think, psychologically, we kind of form a different perception towards bad foods. We know that it's not going to be great for us, but we've kind of earned that little cushion to have a little cheat. And the true holistic individuals will say avoid it completely, and nothing against that. You're living a high quality of life. You're functioning at a different level. I'm not opposed to that, but again, we're about keeping it simple.
Yeah, and keeping it real too.
Yeah, 100%. You never know when your time is going to go, and all I know is I want to enjoy. I mean, I'm a big eater. I want every meal. It's gonna
be pretty good. Yeah, and just changing your relationship up with food. Just thinking about it in kind of a different way.
Medicine. It's medicine.
Yeah, it's more medicine than anything. It's essential to life, but it's not the end all be all. If you have anxiety, doesn't mean you got to go eat. If you have depression, doesn't mean you have to go eat at those certain times. And just helping yourself be aware of when you kind of get triggered to go eat, and maybe binge eat a little bit. It's good. So what my problem is, if I drink some beer or something, boom, that's when I'm gonna hammer it down.
Get the beer munchies.
Oh yeah, get the beer munchies. So that's when I know that's my biggest time. And usually, and even if I'm not drinking at the end of the night, that's when I'm gonna want to eat the most. But really, that's when you should probably eat the least, because you're not going to be very active after that.
Well, and your quality of sleep can be affected too.
Oh yeah.
Your body is trying to recover and sleep. You don't really need to be digesting some nachos and
laying there with your belly hanging out because you're feeling so bloated.
But here's the thing, even with what we're trying to promote, it's trying to avoid that life-changing moment where you go to the doctor and they tell you got liver disease.
Yeah.
Or you have, you're high cholesterol, you're at high risk for a heart attack. It's until an individual hits those moments where they make those changes. And again, that's going back to the belief system, psychology, survival. It's like once you get that message. So if we can understand that we can avoid those conversations, we can avoid those worries by staying proactive day to day. It's an everyday battle for your health. And as time goes on, I realize in life, it's really about learning and understanding how the human body works and how we can live a high quality life while still enjoying it in the process.
Right. And over time, becoming more educated on these things, it becomes easier to figure some things out. Now, still make a ton of mistakes, but it becomes easier to make better decisions because you understand it a little bit more. And I think that with like this podcast episode, while it's kind of, back and forth on different topics when it comes to food, maybe the emotional part, whatever it is, all of it is just trying to become a little bit more educated in something that is huge for us. I mean, eating and drinking and exercise, that's life.
Yeah.
So it's important to know what's going on with your food and what you're doing.
Yep. And also paying attention to those nutrition labels. I've used an app for the last couple years, Yuka, Yuka, and you can actually scan the barcode of the food label at the store, and it'll give you a breakdown of if there's any additives, anything that's hazardous, and then basically be able to catch yourself. So there could be added sugar that you don't see on the label, but this app is kind of designed to dig a little deeper.
Ooh, nice.
I've heard some conversations about it not being as legit, but again, it gets the basics. And it actually, for our viewers out there, I ended up a couple years ago having the craziest thing happen. I'm in the just finished up 75 hard. I'm in great shape. feeling great. And then all of a sudden just had some stomach pain, weird stuff. A week later, I'm in the hospital. They can't figure out what's going on. CT scan shows nothing. And it really was an infection. They thought it was my appendix, going to take my appendix out. And it was actually an infection in my small intestines. They take out about a foot of my small intestines. They don't understand really how it was caused still. I think there was some stress going on emotionally that I was going through and didn't really feel it. I wouldn't say that I was depressed or anything like that, just plugging away at life through a crazy time in the world, running a business during that time as well. So I think there was some subconscious stress there. But then what I found out through that app is I was scanned these some of these supplements that I was taking. I won't name them just to not, throw anybody under the bus. One of them was an electrolyte supplement. One of them was a caffeine source, kind of like a pre-workout. And I would take them throughout the day. I enjoyed them. There was caffeine. I never had a crash. But once I scanned them with the app, I realized that it had two hazardous chemicals in there, one being silicone dioxide, which in heavy doses actually can cause intestinal issues. And that had to be what it was. I was taking multiple doses of that. Again, and silicone dioxide is what they put in the powdered supplements so that they don't clump. And so, for manufacturing purposes, it's in there. But to be fair, I was taking quadruple the amount of the supplement that you should have. And even though, so I'm eating clean, eating healthy, drinking a gallon of water a day for 75 days. And then this is around day 100 after that this surfaced up. So even though you think you're eating all the healthy stuff, there could be one little thing that you're missing that could be causing some intestinal damage. And don't do it too late like me. And
so what's that app again?
Yucca or Yucca, Yuka. It's got a little carrot,
Y-U-K-A.
I think, on it. But it's pretty simple. You can go through Costco, Sam's, and I'll be honest, like I was very surprised that even Costco, how many good ratings they had with some of their stuff. And then even stuff that says organic, all natural, you scan it, and you're like, what in the world? It's got these artificial flavorings. It's got all this other stuff. It's really helpful, man.
I like that little golden nugget there, a little yucca. I
Yucca.
like it.
And shout
That's
out
a
to
good
Yucca.
one.
What a great concept. And it's just awareness. We're in a state in this world where we are more aware now of what's going on. And especially right now, it's awesome to be able to understand more.
Well, and people are also there are certain people that really doing their best to hide things as well. So it's always good to be. It's you can watch any food documentaries on Netflix and be very amazed at what is going on. So,
But don't go down that rabbit hole
no,
sometimes, man.
no, it'll mess you up. You
Oh
watch some of
man, it'll
those things.
question. I remember there was a day not too long ago. I had to get a quick lunch, and I'm driving around, and I'm like, "There's nothing healthy. There's nothing healthy," and almost gave myself a freaking panic attack because other than going to Fresh Time and getting something real quick, some avocado and some almonds, what else can you do?
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, I love Chick-fil-A. We had Chipotle today for a little office party. You know, 80-20.
Chipotle. I love Chipotle. You know that video?
No.
I'll show it to you afterwards. It's a good one. Most
Uh,
most most people would know those. But yeah, and the other factor to this game is the cost factor. And everybody can give you great information and tell you what to get, but I'll be honest, um, shopping at Whole Foods and spending $500 on one little basket really not in my budget either. So it's really about being resourceful. If your area has like a what do they call them? Like a
Aldi's where to go, man.
yeah, Aldi's really good.
You can get fresh fruits, vegetables, all that stuff for very cheap. Um, and it's, organic, good
Mhm.
quality stuff. But yeah, shopping around the perimeter is the key when you go to the grocery store. And I'm not saying you can't get anything from the middle aisles, but most likely that's going to be where your processed
Mhm.
foods are.
What about the Uncrustables? Can we have
I'm
some
going
of
to get
those?
some
You're gonna get.
strawberry,
Oh, you're a strawberry Uncrustable guy.
strawberry Uncrustable. And
Oh, those are
I
good.
I got impatient once recently pulling it out of the freezer. And if you put that thing on a skillet or
Ooh,
even the oven, I believe I did, but just kind of a little crispify on both sides. So it's a little It's still cool in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was always a toaster strudel fan too, so
Oh, those are good
I'm
as
not
well.
gonna, in moderation, but yeah, good toaster strudel.
My brother, he was up here visiting one time, and what do Uncrustables? Do they come frozen?
Hmm.
Yeah, so they come frozen. Then you're supposed to let them thaw out a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he didn't even wait on
he
that.
didn't
Just
wait.
went
He just
straight.
went.
He just went straight in, just straight frozen Uncrustable.
He's taken away some enjoyment, but
But
I've been there before. I won't
he
lie.
got it down. I mean, he wanted it, and he got it right then.
Hey, you know what? When you're in that certain mode,
Hey,
you
you know
take it
what
in.
my favorite like kind of process BS is? Some Jimmy Dean. Um,
Breakfast
oh
sausage.
man, like some yeah, like but when they have like the biscuit, the sausage and the egg in there all at the same time,
Oh, you're talking about like
he's
the little breakfast sandwich?
yeah, he's just warming it up and that thing's ready to go. It's what am I?
Well, and here's last time I ever had McDonald's. I only know this because it was 2016, say for example, and it was just quick. It was easy. It was on a road trip. I found a French fry under my seat 6 months later, and it looked the exact same. Anything all natural or organic should rot. Rotting is a good sign.
Yep.
If it's not rotting, it's probably got some chemicals in it. That's a good.
Yeah. You can leave that Big Mac outside for a while. It'll be just fine. It won't change a bit.
Yeah, and then there comes a time like, okay, I'm hungry. There's nothing to eat. So here's a good scenario. It's 10:30 at night. You've been driving on a road trip, and there is nothing but fast food. Are you better off fasting or eating?
You're better off fasting.
You're better off fasting, as hard as it is. And I don't think I've ever fasted through that moment though. But
No, no.
it is. You are a better. Whenever in doubt, unless you haven't ate for days. If you're a male, you're fine. If you're a female, they need to kind of eat a little more regularly
Yeah.
than we do. We can fast a little longer than they can, but fasting is key. And again, look at it as you're filling up your tank. If you got some bad fuel in there from a couple days of eating bad, you got to burn that sucker all the way out before you add a little more to the mix, because then it's just going to be harder to get rid of it.
Yeah, and if you have to stop and you're stopping at a gas station, what are you getting? What are you going to pick up if it's a little bar or what is it? What are some recommendations that you would do?
It's nearly impossible to get anything that's not processed.
But if you're picking the best thing for you, what are you going with?
I'm going with bottled water and some almonds.
Yep. What about a good old kind bar?
I'm not opposed to the kind bar, but again, if we really, and those are quick protein bars. I've had them for years.
Some of those protein bars, you got to watch them though. They got some
Gotta watch them.
they got some stuff in them that you'll eat that thing, and about 15 minutes later, you'll have to stop again to take care of some other business.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, over time, our gut bacteria, as we age, it changes. I mean, how many times as you've gotten older, you eat something, and your stomach reacts
It's unfortunate.
different than it did for 30 years. Well, it's changed, and that you've hit limitations. and
Mm,
and as we were looking up the top health topics searched by Americans, one of the top questions is, what is diabetes?
hmm
And again, going back to the self-inflicted, there's a couple types. So we're going to talk about type 2, which is self-inflicted. Type 1 is more genetic, you're born with it. But type 2 is where you have caused yourself to not produce insulin anymore, so that you need that in order to function. And so going into that in general, so we talk about one of the most common things that we can avoid in this country. And I think there's just lack of awareness on how it works. Anytime, whether it's processed sugar or natural sugar, anytime that hits the mouth, the process starts. And we remember learning this in school. The pancreas is the organ that digests sugar and helps regulate the sugar intake. So we have cells in our pancreas called beta cells that increase the insulin production in the body as soon as sugar enters the system. So if we override that with too much sugar at once, that's overriding those beta cells. So say, like we talked about before, 30 grams or less for the average human. if we're consuming 120 some grams of sugar a day, which it is common that is happening,
Mm-hmm.
that beta cell, it's like a freaking casino in there, man. Just ding, 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 ding. It's rolling and rolling and rolling. And so what happens to anything, if again, matter has limitations. So that those beta cells in the pancreas secreting insulin, they call it beta cell burnout, where those beta cells are done producing insulin because we've abused the body's natural ability to produce insulin. That's where type 2 diabetes comes from.
Ooh.
So if we can avoid that with limiting our sugar intake, being aware of how much we're consuming, and exercise, and that's another big factor too. What Michael Phelps, he ate like a madman when he was training for the Olympics because he was burning off so much. So if we're not burning off anything, we're just storing away sugar, it turns into fat, and then that's really the probably the biggest health problem in this country right now.
Yeah, and basically in very very simple terms, you're basically just fatiguing out your cells.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, you are making decisions to eat certain things that makes the things that in your body makes everything go around. You're making them so tired that they can't do their job anymore.
They can't do their job. And not only that, but so like we were talking about, like say you have 60 grams of sugar in one setting, those beta cells are just pedal to the metal. They're wearing them out. I mean, it is just like any overacted system. An engine blows in a car, it's because it was overacted.
Mm-hmm.
And with the consumption of sugar, and then the lack of any type of process or exercising to that,
Yeah.
or like you said, the timing of it. So if we don't give ourselves at least 8 hours for those beta cells to relax and rejuvenate, then we're just flooring it to the hammer even more. So that's why fasting is so important.
Well, yeah, and fasting helps out with people who have type 2 diabetes, and also with some exercise helps out people with their sugar levels. That's why it does.
Yeah, and I think staying in our lane here, it's kind of when you go to that doctor's appointment where you're pre-diabetic, quote unquote, where you're on your way to be a type 2 diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times I don't recommend any type of fasting or that to someone who's already been diagnosed with diabetes or has been prescribed metformin. That's when it's a different ball game. You need to go to a nutritionist and balance things out a little bit. But type
Mm-hmm.
2 diabetes is reversible if done correctly, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
medication.
You just have to be diligent
Yep.
and resilient and get it done.
Yep. And it's just being aware. And we can start with step number one, looking at the nutrition labels.
Yeah, and if that thing has a big old, you can basically cross it out. If you look at the ingredient list, and that thing is a massive paragraph, it's a
And you
pretty
can't pronounce the words, get out.
yeah, it's a pretty good indication of what's in that thing.
Stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, stop, drop, and roll. Yeah, the thing would probably catch on fire.
Yeah.
It's like
So,
jet fuel.
and I think, again, it's just not avoiding them completely, but
Yep.
moderation, being aware, and then exercise. And you got to drink water. And here's the other thing is soda. You go from drinking regular soda to diet soda, there's still a bunch of crap.
Yeah, yeah. So, dude, I love it. We hit some more nutrition. We're getting see with our podcast right now, and for everyone that's been listening, probably seen we're going in different directions, and I mean everything's health related, but
Yeah.
kind of feeling our way through based on what the feedback we're getting, and this is another nutrition. We talked nutrition last time too.
Well, and again, we're trying to build the borders of holistic health for our viewers,
Yeah,
and then digging a lot of that other deep rooted stuff just takes years and understanding and studying, and then process of elimination. Like, ooh, that food made me feel this way. I'm going to avoid that one for now.
yep. We are trying to come up with a like what is our podcast about, like an easy way to communicate to others what our podcast is. So I just read one. This guy's was uh, the world is hard to understand. This
Ooh,
channel will make it easier.
oh,
What
I
if we
like
were
that.
like? What if we were like? And give us some feedback. What if we were like? Health and wellness can be hard to understand. This channel will make it easier for you.
I like that one, man.
Oh, it's just simple. It's we've done a lot of work, and we're going to continue to do work. And on this channel, we're going to do the research, um, and let you know those things, and also give you firsthand experience of what we're experiencing here in the office.
100%. And it's the stuff we live with day to day that we're figuring out ourselves. And as we go along, we'll throw some, information out there, because, we're doing a little research on what is the average human being concerned about with their health. And what we're seeing is some stuff that's simple, that can be fixed with just simple principles. And then just a further understanding of how things work is a huge one too.
And we want to be realistic too. Mm-hmm. We don't want to be one of those podcasts that just is like, you can't do that. Take the candy away from the kids.
Yeah, we could just have it called, pick your poison.
Pick your poison. It's tough nowadays to find stuff to be totally good.
I mean, you can't control it, but the air we're breathing is not 100% clean. I mean, it's tough, but it's the reality of it.
It's really just doing the best you can.
Quality of water is extremely important. It's one thing I see the future of holistic health going is more, water, machine type, that purify the water, alkalinize the water, and just overall get it to where we can consume minerals from water instead of just the wetness.
So wet. It's just taking it straight out the hose,
straight out the Mississippi River.
Absolutely. All right. So, I guess this is the end.
This is the end.
This is it. This is episode number 16. I got my person.
Oh, your athlete number 16.
Number 16. I'm gonna go with Peyton Manning.
Oh, when he was with the Volunteers, Tennessee.
Yep.
I think he was 18 with.
He was, but he was 16 with the Volunteers. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Joe Montana.
Joe Montana was a quarterback, you idiot.
He was for the. I said Joe Montana. He was when he was with the 49ers, he was 16, but then he was traded to the Chiefs in the early 90s. He was 19, but 16, he was a 49er. Those were his Hall of Fame days.
I like it. I
said Joe Montana.
He's a quarterback, you idiot.
Done with that hot dog, Jimmy?
All right, guys. So that's the end of the episode. As always, subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the Apple Podcast. Drop us a review. Tell your friends, tell your family to check us out as well. This is all a positive podcast, just trying to spread good things out in the world.
Yes, sir.
If you have anything to talk to us about, comment on something. We'll see it. So
yeah, enjoy your life, live it to the fullest.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Now you're going to get this episode, and you're already going to have Thanksgiving, but happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Well, post Thanksgiving.
Post Thanksgiving.
Get ready, because the madness is coming.
It's coming. All right, guys.
See you.